You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Hi, I'm Franco Luna, Puma Podcast, and you're listening to Teka Teka News. In this episode,
Ang aking pag-approach pagka dumating sa ekonomiya, sa hanggat maaari ayaw kong pakialaman ang merkado at pabayaan natin, let the market do its work. Ngunit ay pinapakialaman na ang merkado natin. Kaya't kailangan pumasok ang pamahalaan at tayo ay naglagay ng price ceiling para sa presyo ng bigas. Kaya patuloy po ang ating magiging kampanya sa paghuhuli ng mga smuggler, sa paghuhuli sa mga hoarder.
let's talk about the price ceiling on rice that has everyone up in arms.
Papasok pa, meron tayong mga in-import na bigas. Sabay-sabay na papasok yan at makikita, basta't ilalagay namin, dadali natin sa palengke, pabayaan uli natin ang presyo ng bigas na maghanap ng sarili niyang presyo. Ngunit dahil talagang malaki ang supply, magandang supply, makikita natin na makokontrol ng market yung presyo ng bigas.
That's President and Agriculture Secretary Ferdinand Marcos Jr. His executive order setting a price cap on rice officially kicked in early last week. And everyone but rice retailers is celebrating.
For 1 kilo, for the 41 kasi, ang lugi kasi namin doon, like 6 pesos. So 45, ang ano namin doon, 4 pesos.
Yan naman si Elaine Paderanga. She's a rice retailer who sells rice in a palengke in Cubao, Quezon City. With the price ceiling in place, regular milled rice is now at 41 pesos, while well-milled rice caps out at 45 pesos per kilo. This means that retailers are not allowed to sell rice above these prices.
So kung nagko-comply kasi kami doon, technically doon sa 41 and 45, meron kaming lugi. Kasi sa bigas naman, kung kukuha ka kasi sa mga millers or suppliers, mahal pa rin naman talaga ang bigas.
And while that's good for consumers suffering from skyrocketing prices, retailers are feeling the bite. Retailers like Elaine play a crucial role in bringing this favorite Filipino staple onto our dinner table. But because of global extreme weather conditions as of late, domestic rice production just hasn't been enough to keep up with the demand, which drives prices up.
Malaki din siya na lugi din. And at the same time kasi, di ba syempre maghahanap ka ng mas murang bigas para mas konti lang yung lugi mo, di ba? So ngayon kasi, mas madaling nauubos ang murang bigas para nga doon sa 45 compared sa mga other variety kasi ng bigas. So hindi din namin sure kung makakakuha din kami ng supply for the couple of days or a couple of weeks.
According to the Philippine Rice Industry Stakeholders Movement, an average retailer stands to lose around the ballpark of 49,000 pesos in just 1 week of the price cap. Sa pag-ikot ko nga sa palengke, may ibang rice traders na naglagay ng karatula sa tabi ng kada 45 pesos na kilong bigas. Huwag bumili nito. Lugi kami rito.
Hindi mo rin naman kasi sila mansisi kung dinidiscourage din nila. Parang as an act na lang din na parang pagiging makatao na rin. Kasi di ba ang government, sa amin nilalagay yung kailangan kami ang magsakripisyo. So syempre, for the others naman na consumers, parang di bang naman pwedeng iba na lang. At least para sa kami, meron naman kami konting kita.
Before the price cap was ordered, expectations were that the price of a kilo of rice would reach 60 pesos by September as we go through the lean months before harvest season. Customs officials even inspected 3 warehouses in Bulacan in late August, only to find them stocked with the suspected smuggled and imported rice. The Trade Department has already appealed to retailers to sacrifice the profit for the time being. The police and the president have also called on consumers to start reporting retailers who aren't following the price cap. Elaine says rice retailers like her are for sure going to operate at a loss for the next few weeks because of this.
Kasi kung halimbawa, maubos ko yung 41, 45 ko, na ganun lang yung lugi ko, 6, sabihin 6 pesos, 5 pesos. Baka mamaya yung susunod, wala na ako. Baka mamaya, bis tumaas pa, mag 8 pesos, 10 pesos na. Hindi natin sure, ganun. Kasi, ang alam ko kasi sa mga dealers ngayon, may mga kinds kasi ng bigas na naka-hold. Yun. Kasi syempre, nakikiramdam din sila sa pricing.
While the price cap stays in place, the government is promising 15,000 pesos in ayuda for affected businesses. But Elaine says it's not enough.
Siguro kapag halimbawa, isa din niya yung EO39 na yan, baka mamaya hindi lang isang buwan as expected, baka mamaya mabot pa ng mga 2 buwan, 3 buwan. So mas mahirap na yun sa amin. Sabihin mo, hindi nagbago yung 15,000 na yan. Masasabi ko hindi talaga siya kaya kung aabutin pa ng more than 1 month.
In the absence of aid, Elaine says it's almost like the industry is working together to weather the storm from the farmers all the way up to the retailers.
Ngayon, nung nag-start kasi ang price ceiling, mas kumonti ang nakukuha kong bigas sa mga supplier kasi sila din nakikiramdam doon sa mangyayari. Kasi, di ba nag-iikot-ikot din yung mga other agencies sa mga warehouse, sa mga bodega. Kasi ayaw din nilang ma-point as hoarder.
It's also worth pointing out that this comes after new data this week showed consumer inflation hitting 5.3% in August. But the question on everyone's mind now is this: how much will this actually address the main problem of rice supply?
It's just a short-term stopgap measure. Pag tumagal siya, ma-damaging ang effects niya sa mga farmers and eventually in the long run, also with the consumers.
That's Renan Dalisay. He was administrator of the National Food Authority during the Aquino administration. He says it's farmers who are hit the most by the price cap.
Ang isang dahilan dyan ay mataas din ang bili ng mga traders sa farmers. So usually pag mga 25 pesos ang bili nila dyan, parang ang rule of thumb dyan is times 2 yan, that's 50 pesos. So kung may price cap at hindi madidictate ng market yung presyo at 50 pesos because ang cost nung palay is something like half of it, 25. So ibig sabihin, hindi mo nabibili yung mga traders habang may price cap kasi malulugi sila. Now, pag hindi bumili ang traders sa farmers natin, malulugi yung mga farmers, walang bibili ng palay nila. Or talagang willing ang trader bilhin ng palay nila pero babaratin sila ng gusto.
Traders, who connect the farmers and the retailers, are saying the government should have at least given them time to prepare for the rice cap. Finance Secretary Ben Jokno has also since admitted that the government's economic team wasn't consulted before the president implemented the price ceiling. Pero teka, bakit ba ang mahal ng bigas in the first place? We're pausing for a quick break now. When we return, sasagutin natin yan.
Ang starting point kasi nito, Franco, no, at least during my term, is really to determine kung ano bang sufficiency level ng rice production natin. Meaning yung natatanim natin. At least during my time, I know that it was about 94%. Because the danger with that, Franco, is that pag nag-over-import ka, kawawa ang farmers. Pag nag-under-import ka naman, dahil hindi naman tayo sufficient, tataas ang presyo. So, it's really a balancing act. Medyo mahirap siya pero doable. Binabalance mo yung interest ng farmers tsaka interest ng consumers.
Again, that was former NFA Administrator Renan Dalisay. All this happened kasi umabot ng 60 pesos ang isang kilo ng bigas ayon sa pag-monitor ng Department of Agriculture. Di ba 20 raw ang target ni Pangulo? The president is pointing to hoarding and smuggling as one of the main factors driving up the prices of rice, which is not the complete picture.
Pag may problema tayo tulad nitong sitwasyon na to, it's always a convenient excuse na sabihin dahil maraming smuggling, maraming hoarding. Ang hoarding nangyayari pag lean months, walang supply, bumababa ang supply natin, so tumataas ang presyo. But meron tayong NFA before na involved sa trading na nakakapag-trade ng cheaper rice. Kaya nade-deflate natin yung mataas na presyo.
Ayun, dati meron tayong NFA na bumibili ng bigas sa mga Pinoy rice farmers para may buffer stock tayo. At pag may buffer stock, di masyado o bigla-biglang tumataas ang presyo ng bigas.
Yung profiteering naman and price manipulation, nangyayari dyan pag hindi talaga in control ang government.
Renan hits the nail on its head. Mataas ang presyo ng bigas principally because walang kontrol ang pamahalaan. For now, there's a lot riding on whether or not our supply problems can be fixed in the short term by the time harvest season rolls around, and that's this September. Nakasalalay din ang presyo sa kung kailan dadating ang rice imports natin from abroad. Besides the weather, there's also a lot that's outside of our control. For instance, countries like India, Thailand, and Vietnam, where we import a lot of our rice from, have all put in place restrictions on rice exports, which only drives the price up. Here's rice trader Elaine Paderanga again.
Combination kasi yan, imported and local na problem. Nagsabay lang sila kaya ganyan, nagkaroon tayo ng problem sa supply. Tapos syempre, makukuntian din tayo. At the same time, alam ko, Thailand, may problem sila sa water. So, hindi rin sila masyadong makakapag-supply din sa atin. Other parts like Myanmar, Pakistan, they have their own problems din. So, ang nangyari, ang nag-shoulder local, yung local kasi hindi naman ganun kadami ang supply na natin.
We also can't talk about this without mentioning the resignation of now former Undersecretary Cielo Magno, whose sudden departure from the Department of Finance came after she spoke out against the recently set price caps. In a statement confirming her termination, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said Magno was let go because she didn't support the administration's policies. But her criticisms ring true today. There are more systemic issues we can and should be tackling to address the price of the country's main food source. Importation aside, farmers also have to grapple with a host of other long-standing issues: smuggling, climate change, and the high cost of raw materials. So there are a few reasons a rice cap was never actually going to solve our problems in the rice industry. For one thing, it won't immediately reduce the price of rice, and it might even lead to shortages. Rice retailers will need time to adjust their prices, and they may not be able to sell their rice at a loss. Retailers will also be reluctant to sell rice at a loss, so they may choose to reduce the amount of rice they sell.
Pag nagtanim ng palay, yung farmers, it takes them 3 months para magbunga yung tinatanim nila. Pero ang consciousness ng mga ordinary people, especially in urban areas, at the snap of a finger, they get their food through the groceries. Pero hindi nila nakikita yung sacrifice ng mga farmers natin. Now, good if we have those imported products, no? If we can import. What if suddenly, at nangyari na to several times, biglang maghigpit sila, hindi sila mag-export, then our supply will be affected, the price will be affected.
Renan says in the long run, an extended price cap only hurts farmers. Rice retailers might choose to sell lower quality rice in order to make a profit. The price ceiling is set below the cost of production, so farmers will incur losses. This could lead to a decrease in rice production, which could further drive up prices down the line. And the reality is, the worst case scenario is already here, because our dependence on imports is already a self-fulfilling prophecy that only makes us have to import more. And that's because we're running out of farmers, and that's the bigger issue than smuggling and hoarding these days.
We have a generation of aging farmers who are our food producers. So pag kumaunti yan, magiging more dependent talaga tayo sa importation. Now, importation is okay in an ideal world na walang problema. Pero with global warming and everything, other countries who are producing rice and other crops are also being affected. Nakita natin yan. Pag naapektuhan ang supply nila, yung mga dependent sa importation ang maapektuhan, ang kawawa.
The farm gate price of palay actually went down by 3 pesos per kilo the very first day after Marcos issued the order implementing the price ceiling. So yes, our farmers are already bearing the brunt of the price cap. That's on top of feeling the effects of skyrocketing prices themselves, since they also have to shoulder the cost of seeds, fertilizer, and manpower. That's not to mention the costs of processing, storage, and transport. Here's Renan Dalisay again on the impact of the price cap on those who produce our favorite staple.
Parang wala sa equation yung yung farmers sa lahat ng mga ginagawa. Parang we have to satisfy the consumers, the retailers, the traders, and even government. Sabi nila, nagsasacrifice sila. Parang sa isang pamilya lang yan eh. Parang ang nagpapakain sa atin yung magulang natin. Pag wala tayong emphasis sa respeto sa ating magulang, sino magpapakain sa atin? At the end of the day, in the long run, kung talagang ang economic direction natin is hindi na agricultural, then we have to embrace the fact that we will be dependent on importation sa ibang bansa para tayo magiging dependent sa ibang pamilya para sa pagkain natin.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Pidoy Blanco. Our Teka Teka News executive producer is Jill Caro, and our senior editor is Veronica Uy. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend. Help Teka Teka News reach more people and keep the show going. Thanks for listening.